Nobody likes to waste resources like electricity. Not only is it bad for the environment, but it costs money too. That's why you always switch off a light bulb or heater when you leave a room. You must also mindfully use resources like files or databases when programming. If your program heavily uses these resources, you must close them after your program is finished. With Java, you can use try with to close the resources automatically when finished. In this video, you'll learn to identify use cases for try with resources, learning how they are structured and used. By the end, you'll be able to manage your resources more efficiently. Imagine a large software company asked you to develop a new file reading application. You're progressing well and ready to test the application by reading a test file. You've already encountered the finally block, which can be used with the try block to place any resource cleaning up code. For example, if you open a file for reading, writing, or a database connection, you can close it when finished in the finally block you place below a try block. But this is a manual effort. You might forget to close the file, leave it open, and risk using resources needlessly. The try with resources syntax is an alternative to the traditional try catch finally or try finally syntax. With try with resources, you are not burdened with manually closing the resources. It takes care of closing them once your code has finished using them. Any resources you declare within the try with resources block are automatically closed upon exiting it. So, it does the same job as the finally block in performing resource cleanup tasks, but more robustly. Let's take a moment to explore the process and syntax for creating a try with resource. First, create a try with resource class, adding a main method. Next, open the class using the try method. Then, declare a file input stream using the try method. The input stream must locate the required file by name within the directory. During this stage of the process, you might encounter exceptions or errors. For example, you might encounter a file not found exception or I/O exception. You'll need to resolve this using a catch block. Finally, add code to read the file's contents from the input stream. Once you've finished reading and closed the file, any resources you declared are automatically closed. This is a great high-level overview of the process. But what does it look like in action? Let's find out more by examining the syntax of a try with resource using a real-world example. The resource used in this example is a file from which the program reads data. A file input stream is used for this purpose. You will encounter file handling later on in this course. For now, you can simply focus on its usage with the try with resources. The first step is to create a new class named try with resources and add a main method. Make sure to add curly braces to your code. Now you need to open up the try with resources. Type try to configure the try method. Then open a pair of parentheses followed by a code block with open and close curly braces. Now you must declare the file input stream. You want to read the contents of a file named test.txt in the same directory. So, provide the file name and location to the file input stream. This opens up an input stream to the specified file. You can use the input stream to read the file's contents. It seems this has caused a file not found exception. This error indicates that the file you're trying to open may not exist in the given location. This common compile time or checked exception can occur when dealing with files. The compiler states that you must handle the exception before proceeding, so place a catch block below the try block. The catch block should handle the exception called file not found exception. So, place it in the catch parameter. The compiler suggests that you handle the more generic or top-level exception, the I/O exception. This is because the code you usually put within the body of the try block, which reads data using the file input stream, could also cause the more generic exception type, I/O exception. So, accept the suggestion and replace file not found exception with I/O exception. Add an exception handling code to the catch block and add code to print the exception message. You can then add the following code to read the file's contents from the file input stream a byte at a time until it reaches the end of the file, at which point the read method returns -1. The integer variable content holds 1 byte of data read at a time from the file input stream. The while loop loops through the file's contents until it reaches the end of the file. The file is read by calling the read method of the file input stream, represented by the FIS variable. Each round of while loop execution reads 1 data byte and stores it in the content variable. This continues until the end of the file is reached, which is when the read method returns -1. The value of the content variable is printed to the console. Before printing, the byte value is represented as a character. Great work! You can now read files without checking that you've closed your resources afterward. The try with resource block guarantees that the resources are automatically closed.